Hello and welcome to the World News on voptv. I'm Kayla Abraham. We begin the world news in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, where fighting between rival groups jostling for power entered a fourth day of intense fighting. 16 hospitals in and outside of Khartoum are now out of service. That's according to reports by the Doctors Syndicate Steering Committee in Sudan. Some of them have been bombed. The clashes, which began on Saturday between the army and rapid support forces, have resulted in the death of 180 people and injuries to 1,800 others. Khartoum residents are struggling to provide aid to those injured during the indiscriminate firing of bullets and shells. The situation also makes it difficult to bury the dead, which could lead to an environmental disaster. The hospitals are facing severe shortages of medical staff, anesthesiologists, and supplies including water, food, and fuel for generators. In its reaction, the U.S. government has called for a cessation of hostilities and safety of civilians in Sudan. State Secretary of State Anthony Blinken called on the chairman of Sudan's Transitional Sovereignty Council, General Abdel Fattah Abdelrahman al-Burhan, and his Deputy General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo to take active measures to reduce tensions and ensure the safety of all civilians. He said the only way forward is to return to negotiations that support the Sudanese People's Democratic Elections. On April 15, 2023, armed clashes erupted between the SAF and the RSF in heavily populated parts of Khartoum and spread to other cities including the Darfur region. The clashes follow weeks of rising tensions between the two forces over security force reform during negotiations for a new transitional government and was preceded by the SAF and RSF jointly overthrowing Sudan's transitional government in October 2021. A massive early morning slide on a key highway in Pakistan has killed 3 persons, leaving many more injured and about 20 trucks buried. The incident occurred in the country's northwestern state of Torkham near its border with Afghanistan. The incident followed a strong thunderstorm that hit the Khyber Pass main road near Afghanistan. Rescue officials says authorities are trying to recover the bodies from the site and to evacuate the wreckage using heavy machinery. The incident site is part of the main route connecting Pakistan with landlocked Afghanistan, a major transit point for trade between South Asian nations and into Central Asia. Meanwhile, officials also said a fire had broken out immediately after the landslide as drivers were cooking meals for sehri on gas stoves. The blaze has since been brought under control. Two Israeli men were wounded in a suspected gun attack in East Jerusalem on Tuesday morning. Police suspect that the shooting was carried out from a passing vehicle and are searching for the assailant who managed to flee the scene. The two men, 48 and 50 years old, were shot in a car as they were leaving the tomb of Simeon the Just in the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah. They were taken to hospitals in the city for treatment. According to the Hadassah Medical, at least one of them is in stable condition. Police have found the gun used in the attack, an improvised submachine gun that's common in the West Bank known as Carlo. Police forces are scanning the area by foot and helicopter for the assailant whom they believe is on foot. The tomb of Simeon the Just is located within Shimon Hatzadik, a small settler enclave in Sheikh Jarrah. Israeli settlers first started to occupy several homes in the neighborhood in the 2000s, enabled by legal proceedings carried out by private settler-affiliated real estate companies to evict the area's Palestinian residents. The spokesperson of Hamas in Jerusalem welcomed the attack and said it's a natural reaction to what he called the crimes of occupation. Finally, jurors are set to get their first look on Tuesday at a voting machine company's $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit against Fox News in a trial that would test First Amendment protections and expose the network's role in spreading the probable lie of a stolen 2020 presidential election. The scheduled trial comes after a one-day delay granted by the overseeing the case, a reprieve that gave the sides time to see if they could work out a settlement. Jury selection and opening statements had been scheduled for Monday in Dominion Voting Systems lawsuit. The Denver-based company aims to hold Fox accountable for airing false allegations of election fraud that continue to roil U.S. politics. Delaware Superior Court Judge Eric Davis gave no explanation for the brief delay, but he suggested the companies tried to mediate their dispute, according to a person close to Fox who was not authorized to speak publicly about the lawsuit status and spoke on the condition of anonymity. The case will be put under scrutiny, the libel standard that has guided U.S. media outlets for nearly 6 decades, revealed behind-the-scenes activity at Fox News in the weeks after the 2020 election and shed light on the flow of misinformation that turned into a tidal wave after the election, which then President Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden. Fox News stars such as Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity, as well as company founder Rupert Murdoch, are expected to testify during the 6-week trial, but it's unclear whether any witnesses will be called Tuesday. Dominion claims New York-based Fox News and its parent company, Fox Corp, essentially bulldozed the voting company's business and subjected employees to threats by falsely implicating it in a bogus conspiracy to rig the election against Trump. In the weeks after Election Day, prominent Fox News hosts brought on Trump allies who falsely claimed that Dominion's machines were programmed to snatch votes away from the Republican incumbent and pad the Democratic challenger's total. Many of Fox's hosts and executives didn't believe the claims but allowed them to be aired nevertheless. Dominion's lawyers wrote in a court filing, Fox spread and endorsed one of the most damaging lies in the country's history. Pointing to communications among Fox figures, from executives to fact-checkers, Dominion argues that the network knowingly amplified falsehoods for the sake of ratings. Fox says it's simply reported on Trump's challenges to the election results and let viewers hear from his lawyers and allies. Dominion's lawsuit is a political crusade in search of a financial windfall, but the real cost will be cherished First Amendment right. Fox said its host sometimes alluded to a need for evidence to back up the allegations and noted that Dominion denied the claims. Federal and state election officials, exhaustive reviews in battleground states, and Trump's own attorney general found no widespread fraud that could have changed the election outcome. Nor did they turn up any credible evidence that the vote was tainted. Dozens of courts, some with Trump-appointed judges, also rejected his fraud allegations. In the Dominion case, Davis declared it was crystal clear that the claims about the voting machine company weren't true. And that is a wrap on the world news on voptv. I'm Keila Abraham. Thanks for watching.